Good afternoon, everybody. We're coming to you from Herman Wells law firm. Today we have a special guest from ADR, and he is a public adjuster. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves real quick. I'm Bill Demas. I'm one of the attorneys here, and we're going to do this video and other videos like it on various topics. Tune in, keep on watching. We're going to talk about things that are tied to legal, law changes, things like that, but also things we're going to meet with some brewers and distillers to talk about how they do their job and what laws really impact them. Talk to other people about some ongoing topics, whether it be criminal law or in the entertainment business and how that works. And that, but it's going to be a really fun show. Right now, the working title for our show is Off the Clock with Your Attorney. Again, I'm Bill Demas.
And I'm Warren Duffy, one of the other attorneys here at Herman Wells.
And our special guest today,
Josh Keller with ADR Florida, Inc.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through it, and today we're really lucky to have Josh, and we're going to go through who he is, what he does, and we're going to talk about the hurricane preparedness and other things we can do. Now, just a disclaimer, because we're attorneys and we always have to do disclaimers, right? But disclaimers is, this isn't the end-all be-all Bible of your hurricane preparedness. Please visit your county website, the state website. They have exhaustive lists. What we're going to talk about today are things that those lists don't cover and things you may not think about when it comes to preparing your house. Hopefully there is no damage, but if there is damage, what you could have done before and after to help you speed your claim along with the insurance company. So we're going to move for Josh. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
I have about 16-year insurance background on the insurance carrier side. I've been a claim manager, managed CAT events, storm events.
And what's a CAT event?
CAT event it's a hurricane, tornado, or some event that's established by the governor and has to do with large weather events.
Catastrophic.
Catastrophic. We have 3 insurance carrier trained professionals that work at ADR. We started this about 3 years ago. We all felt that we couldn't sleep well at night on the insurance claim side. And we said, we're insurance professionals. You can work on one or the other side. The side is for the carrier, or the side is for the insured. And we chose to work for the insured.
Okay. So that leads me into my next question is people are out there going, wait a minute. If he's an adjuster, what's the difference between a regular adjuster and a public adjuster? So what is a public adjuster?
The state of Florida deemed a public adjuster to work for the insured, and a regular or staff adjuster works for the insurance carrier. We're both supposed to be equal, and we're both supposed to be fair. One entity works for each other, so that kind of is a little bit difficult at a point.
So you work for the consumer, the homeowner, the person that had their house damage or property damage, regular people. You're their adjuster, you're their voice.
That's correct, yes.
Oh, awesome. And you said ADR is 3 years?
Yes, we've been in business for 3 years at this point.
Okay. And I know that you have other people there. Can you quickly talk about them and their backgrounds?
Sure. My partner, his name is George Hall. He has a CPCU. His last job was a vice president of claims.
What's a CPCU?
CPCU is a chartered professional, certified underwriter.
Okay.
And it's given by the institutes. There's about 2 to 3% of all insurance adjusters have that qualification.
So pretty rare.
Very rare. Yeah. So it's like a master's degree in insurance.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That makes sense. And how long was George doing adjusting work?
I believe that he's 25, 26 years now.
Awesome. And I know inside the realm, there's desk adjusters, and then there's something called SIU. Did George do the SIU side of it?
Yes, so SIU, Special Investigations Unit. He used to do that for several carriers. I also ran a SIU division for a Florida Central carrier. So we both have a lot of experience in what could be looked as maybe not a claim or something that was self-induced.
So let's just break it down for the people that are watching it, because we're talking around the cuffs, and Josh, you're trying to be very politically correct. But basically, if the insurance company smells something that's not right and they think it may be fraud, they call SIU to go in and investigate.
That's correct.
Okay. So you've investigated cases where the insurance company thought was fraud, so you know exactly what they're looking for.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I can give you a few examples of that.
Yeah, that would be great.
This day and age, almost any fire in a home is investigated by SIU.
Wow.
Almost any water loss that the insurance carrier didn't send their own people to mitigate up front, the water that's on the floor, the leaking pipe, is looked at by SIU. Also, the state of Florida has set up that SIU, departments of insurance companies, have to turn in so many percentage of claims, whether they should be investigated or not, to the state.
Well, hold on. What?
There's a blanket rule regardless of the factual basis to it?
That's correct. It's governed by the Florida statutes.
Okay then.
And how long has that been around?
The last change that I remember was in 2018, where they wanted to make the system more robust to send us these claims to the state's attorneys of the OIR or the Department of Financial Insurance.
And looking back, that's probably when you and George were doing this. I would think that, knowing your personality, that was one of the things that probably stuck in your craw, wasn't it?
There were instances of absolute fraud, and we would turn those in, and the state would look at it and say, you didn't give us enough, we don't have enough. Here's the video, here's the smoking gun. And now, as we all know, there was an assignment of benefit. That also was looked in by SIU departments of every insurance carrier, and every one of those were turned into the state. The state only has so many resources also.
Right.
So turning these blanket accounts or claims into SIU basically waters down what real fraud is.
So the normal person that has an actual claim that is doing what they're supposed to do, some of their claims are getting turned in for numbers, while the person that really should be caught, they're skating by because there's literally so much coming in that the state can't investigate properly.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then again, if you look back at it, the really fraudulent claims, those are the ones that really drive the prices up because SIU has to take so much time investigating them. The insurance, that's not cheap. So all that kind of factors in, don't you think?
There's a lot of time, resources to do the investigations. It takes litigation personnel, it takes special investigation people,
Right.
engineers, which all have to, sometimes they have to be paid, but sometimes we have to be hired out.
Wow. You had said something before, and Warren and I were just talking about this the other day on a separate issue, is that when you say that the homeowners fix the water damage or fix the damage and then calls the insurance company didn't come out and clean it up themselves or really see the damage firsthand, that's a red light for SIU. So what should a homeowner do if they have something like that?
That's a really difficult question because their policy actually states that you should do everything that you can to make sure you don't get more damage to your home. So you are cleaning up that water, you're shutting your water off to your home so that water is not coming in. You get it cleaned up, maybe that's 2 o'clock in the morning. You get up, life hits you, get the kids ready, you go to work, and by 3, 4 o'clock, got to turn this claim in. Let me go home after work, let me see what really happened. You get home, yeah, there's damage, you call the insurance carrier. They're closed at that point, so now a day or two goes by and all of a sudden it was on you that you didn't report your claim timely, even though you did what you were supposed to do, mitigated your damages, shut that water off, made sure, hey, is there damage? Plus then also with water, you get it underneath the wood floor or something like that, it might not appear you got it off the top. It might not appear for days coming through that floor.
Here at Herman Wells, we do represent people that have disputes with their carrier regarding property damage and things like that. And I'm going to turn this over to Warren because Warren has a lot more experience on this with me. And when we were talking, he had some really interesting points about cases that he saw where something happened like that and the claim was made harder by things that the client did or didn't do.
Like you said, they cleaned the floor, but you can't quite see what's underneath the floorboards. What should they do when they find that like a week later and discover that, oh my goodness, it's not just water on my floor, but my tile popped up or the wood delaminated and I just tripped on it? How do they report that claim without an insurance company going, whoa, it's been a week, that's a problem? What do you typically tell your potential clients?
Hopefully those potential clients have contacted us and we've gone through the store and we understand what has happened so we can put into insurance speak to be able to have the claim recognized as a true claim. When somebody's calling in and they're on the phone and say, hey, well, I had this water leak, this sort of thing. Hey, you're going to get asked a question, was that the first time something happened? I spilled a glass of water in the same spot. I don't think anything happened. Automatically right there is a red flag, and it starts your clock backwards. There's part of your policy that says that you have to turn your claim in timely, and besides that, they actually put some time frames and limitations in there. At the point that you turn your claim in, you should allow them to investigate, tell them exactly what happened, but really nothing more.
I found a lot of times my clients have told the insurance company what they think happened.
Right.
And a lot of times the insurance companies take that statement of what they think happened and they just deny the claim. Is that pretty standard practice?
It is. What you think happened and what did happen, maybe they're the same thing, but the words were slightly different, and if you don't have somebody to get in front of that carrier, the claims adjuster, to put that word track together for you, you're going to get a potential denial on a true covered claim.
Do you have, or what do you think your oddest claim was, where you went out and looked at it and you said, oh man, this is covered, and then the insurance company came back and did that? They said, well, your client said this, and so it's not covered. And you look at it and you think to yourself, that can't possibly be what happened, and this is it. And you can't get them turned around. What's the most egregious situation that you've seen?
I've seen two. One was an air conditioner leak, and the air conditioner actually was below the floor. It was cut out of the concrete. So it was a box, and then the wood floor, before it came onto top of the wood floor, it went underneath it. The client called the air conditioner person, had the air conditioner cleaned out, the clog cleared, and from that clog, if there was any damage, would have been covered because it was a direct physical and accidental. But that client didn't clean water off his floor, and a few weeks later, he saw the water and then the damage coming up from the floor. He had these receipts and invoices from the air conditioning company from having it cleaned out. We took photos, proved that the water went underneath, took meters, proved that there was water under the floor. There was no other way for the water to be on the floor, and we got a denial.
You had said something before. You had just said something. Photos. Now I know in your example, 2 o'clock in the morning, kids are up, things are going crazy. People don't really look to pick up that cell phone and take some pictures. But do you think that's a good idea? Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning for them to shoot a video to say we just woke up and the water's shooting out and look at it's all over the floor before they start cleaning up.
Absolutely. The first thing, and it's real easy in this day and age, everybody's got a cell phone on them, with them, close by. Yeah, it's early in the morning. There's things going on. Taking that, maybe getting a denial, maybe going through a large dispute with your insurance carrier, or maybe them treating you the right way and just taking care of what your issues are.
Because it's so funny, we all have one of the most powerful devices in our pocket, and we have I have a good family friend he's older now, he's in his 70s, but he's literally a rocket scientist from MIT. Okay, and he jokes around that there's 10 times to 100 times more computing power in our pockets than what took the first men to the moon. So it's like just pulling that out and taking those pictures saves a huge amount of headache, right?
Correct. Plus a time date stamped. It's
right. It's metadata and date stamped. Yeah. And for people that don't realize this, I'm sure everybody does, is that when you take a video on your phone, iPhone, Google, Android, or a phone or a picture, it literally timestamps it. And it's embedded in the picture. So we can later turn around and go to court and put that up as proof and say, look, it's 2:30 in the morning on the 1st, there's a water on the floor. Now, let's say that somebody sees the water damage and they call the plumber. The plumber comes out and says, yeah, you have a little bit of a leak. They cut the board, the wall board, fixes it, and then the guy, like us, pretty handy, said, okay, I'm not going to call the contractor, I can replace that board. And they do it. And then when they pull out the board, they turn around and got like black mold or something on the back. What should they do at that point? What should they do with the repair? Should they do it themselves? Is that a claim? How does that work?
The answer is it depends.
You know what? You're an adjuster. Are you sure you're not a lawyer? Because that's
That's
a heck of a lawyer answer there.
Here in Florida, mold grows pretty quickly. There are some, as I mentioned before, there's some timing issues when it comes to water, and one of the most common is within 14 days. Mold starts to grow within 24 to 48 hours, and
Wow.
depending on if it's in the wall, there's more humidity, it's not an air-conditioned space, it can be a lot faster. At the time that you spot any mold or anything like that, I would contact a professional or a public adjuster to come out and look at that. We also have resources to bring in plumbers, people that actually test the mold that can tell us how long it's been there. The one thing about turning in a claim is you always have that claim and it'll be embedded to you forever. The one thing a public adjuster can do, which is as good as helping you with the claim, is maybe telling you when not to make the claim.
Well, that's actually a great point. Warren and I were talking about that too.
And you also mentioned 14 days. So before we talk about the not making a claim, why is 14 days an important timing aspect for a water claim?
I don't think it's that important, but the insurance company does.
In a bad way, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. A deadline in an insurance policy can never be a good thing.
Correct. And to the insurance carrier's point, this water was leaking for years and it crumbled this and that, and we can understand what things are that are wear and tear and deterioration. But there's a point where you can't see something until it becomes apparent you didn't know that there was a problem. So I think maybe they're looking at it, if you apparently knew something and didn't say anything, that's bad too.
Yeah.
But as soon as it becomes apparent, that's when you should call your professional.
Okay. And what about when not to make a claim? How do you make that determination?
I would tell anybody, again, you need a professional's opinion. Unless you read and understand your policy, you're not going to know when not to make it. But then again, too, you own your policy. You know how much the value is of that policy. You also have a deductible. Okay, so say you have a $2,500 deductible. You had something happen to the vanity in your bathroom. You pick this vanity up at Home Depot for $500 and somebody install it for $250. All right, so $750 at a small water leak. This is going to happen. This is probably not a claim that you want to turn in because you were going to pay that deductible anyway.
So is that something, Josh, that as a public adjuster, that somebody can have a problem or whatever and say, you know what, I listened to Josh, he said this. Can they give you a call up on the phone and say, hey, this is what's going on, and you can either go out there or suss it out for them of what they should do? Is that something that you guys do?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. And that's a great benefit because the inclination, as you said, is we got to clean the floor, we got to get the kids to school. Now that spot's on the wall, I can knock it out and fix it and paint it and do all that, but they may not have your eye to go in there and say, oh, by the way, you realize that water was spraying up, not just straight, and they may have mold or other damage all inside that wall that they never see because they just fixed that little spot, right?
So we do have, when we come out to do that inspection, as you said, there's just a small spot on the wall. We have infrared cameras, we have water meters, and we chase back to where we can find non-destructively, without punching more holes in your wall. How far did that water go? It shot up, but it still came down. Did it get underneath your floor? And some of these nice new bamboo engineered floors, it might take a week or a month for you actually to see what was wrong without having some tools to look at what happened. So we'll test the dry area, and that's 10%, and we'll walk it from 100% all the way down to still 22% here. That's as far as that water might have come out.
Wow. Now, as what we've seen for a theme here is talking all about photos and pictures and knowing what was there, because the insurance company is going to assume either A, everything was perfect and nothing happened, or B, if something happened, well, that's because it was there before the storm, before the wind, before that. Right. So it's now hurricane season here in Florida. But as we sit here today, and I don't know if you guys can see out the window here and hear it, it is raining up a storm, and if there's thunder and stuff behind us, we apologize. We can't control nature. Warren thinks he can, but he tries real hard and then he blacks out.
Not yet.
We're close. What would you say, and we all know about what the Emergency Management Center says about water and food and gas and provisions, please do all that. But in terms of going around, do you think it's important for people to go around even before hurricane season and video and photograph the inside and outside their homes?
Absolutely. You could take photographs and videos before you do your storm preparations. Do your storm preparations. Take video and photographs of that too, that shows that, hey, my intent was to mitigate or help to not receive any damages. It's also going to show the characteristics of your trees and what's happening after the storm. You're going to do the same videos. If there is no difference and you didn't have any damage, and great, then you got away without having to go through an insurance claim.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, and you can't control what your neighbors did, their patio furniture is up on your roof and cracked your roof, or went through your pool enclosure and now is damaged the bottom finish of your pool, or your tree is now laying on the top of your roof. You have what happened before, time date stamps, and what happened after. And maybe it can't be minutes after the storm. Maybe you evacuated. Maybe it took a week or two for you to get back. But that's the time that you had. Hey, now I'm back, and this is how it is.
Because my question is this, is that, and you both have been doing this a long time, and Josh, you're really the one that's looked at those claims from an insurance standpoint. But in my experience doing it, it's our clients swear up and down, no, the soffit was fine. There was I didn't see anything. There was no damage. And then all of a sudden, the wind comes through, even if it's a hurricane, not a hurricane, just a regular afternoon storm like this. Mm-hmm. Something happens, tree falls, and all of a sudden exposes something, and there was unknown, unseen, just damage under the house. Mm-hmm. Those videos and photographs are really going to go far with the insurance company, right? Because you're going to say, look, you can't see, there was no way I could have known that there was that rot or that whatever unless I'm crawling into the eaves of my attic, which it's not accessible.
Right.
So explain how that works when, if you don't have those pictures and something happens and all of a sudden it exposes an underlying problem that you didn't know, how insurance companies look at that.
They might look at that as another event. When we came out to inspect it 2 weeks after the hurricane, there was no issue. A month later, they're going to say that something else must have happened. If there's a tree on the roof, we're going to look at the attic space. We're going to look at the type of roof that the tree fell on. We're going to understand what further damage could have happened. As part of the claims process, and I know we're getting way ahead, we go to an appraisal, which means we've gone to the house maybe 3 or 4 times. And as we go to the house, we always photograph, and especially during a hurricane, you look up, you saw a small spot, maybe you saw no spot, then you saw a small spot. 3 weeks later you go back because you had something else to do, somebody else to meet, and it's getting bigger. And we continue to document that to show that its growth, not that it was not there, and at the end, wow, look at this big huge thing. So we kind of timeline everything to make sure we can tie it back.
Almost like a chain of custody type of thing, where you're showing like, look, this is all from this one event. It's not another occurrence. This is from the storm.
And let me ask this too, because along that same line, maybe it's the reverse. Maybe that you have an older house and there was some damage under there, but you never saw it because the house, you doing your yard work, you looked up, you saw a soffit. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a piece of wood hanging out, it wasn't rusted, it just looked normal to you. Yeah. And you went around and you videotaped it and it looked normal. Then after the storm, the tree falls on it, and that area of the roof maybe was a little more rotted than another area of the roof. Those insurance companies turn around and say, oh, all the damage happened because you had a little bit of rot that you should have known about, right?
That has happened, will happen, and still happens. And again, that's something that we can take care of.
Now, that person going around before the storm, every year taking the picture,
right,
to prove that, hold on, there was no way I could have known that.
Correct.
That goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, trees. And we're going to ask a couple things, because Warren just told me a story today about a tree that fell on a roof, and if a tree falls in the forest, nobody's there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. Apparently there's a tree laying on a roof that insurance companies claiming never fell. So that's...
Or it was too small, didn't poke a hole in it, but you're looking up from the living room at the sky. It's one of those where you're
right.
Picture, dude, it's right there. You can see the branches.
So I know every year before hurricane season, I call a tree guy, because we have a couple big oaks, mm-hmm, and they come and they do what's called broccoliing them up, meaning trim up so the wind can go through. Is that something that you recommend people do?
Absolutely. It's, number one, it's great for the tree, and the tree looks wonderful, mm-hmm, but it will definitely keep the wind going through the tree instead of having the tree come down on your home.
And can insurance companies use the fact that you didn't maintain your trees properly against you?
They can, they have, and I've actually gone on claims on the insurance company side where a tree was falling over. Literally, a huge tree was going to fall on the roof, and we denied their claim because there was no direct physical accidental damage because you're responsible for maintaining your tree. The guy was adamant, hey, wouldn't you rather spend the money to take the tree out right now than have it fall on my house? It seems to make sense, yes, sir, but the responsibility of your trees and those sorts of things do fall on you.
Now, palm trees cause problems, don't they, Warren?
So yeah, I find that we get palm trees. They're really nice and they look really pretty in the front of the house, and they nice shade over the front walkway. But I see lots of adjusters who look at that and mark that up as wear and tear. Why would they do that?
Well, so the palm tree limbs are sometimes pretty long, and when the wind's blowing, palm trees are great resistant to wind because they're pretty thin, but they do bend over.
Yep.
And as the wind's blowing around the house for 8 to 10 hours, their leaves are just up against the roof, and they're considering that wear and tear and not, hey, we had a substantial wind and here's an object that's damaging the home.
So the wind blowing the tree is not wind damage, it's wear and tear.
That's what the insurance carrier will tell you, yes.
but even maintaining your tree throughout the year, the palm trees, because if it's just rubbing on the house, and we've all picked those up from the yard and known how abrasive they are, and different types of palm trees, of course, but that palm going up across even a tile roof, but even a shingle roof, which is most people have, that can just really act like almost sandpaper on your roof, can't it?
So that palm tree is basically taking the granules off of the roof, and it will always be considered wear and tear at that point if there is no storm. So you got to get those cut off. Those aren't great for your roof. The granules are supposed to keep the UV rays out, and it'll extend the life of your roof. But
now, with all the new changes we've got with roofs and insurance companies really wanting to find out how much life is left on these roofs, if you've got a section that a tree was rubbing against, is that going to really hurt your ability to get insurance?
it shouldn't, but the insurance carrier is going to look at not just the age, but the condition of the roof also. And if the condition of the roof around that tree is just something that in there, they have what they have underwriting. The carrier doesn't care how those shingles were damaged. Now, it was really easy if it's a tree, it's cutting a limb away. But your whole rest of the roof could look great, and if you've got that area that does not look that great, they might not insure you.
So not only does it protect your house from damage, but it also extends the life of your roof, just taking some simple time to trim some palm trees away or make sure that your trees aren't overhanging your roof.
Absolutely.
And going into that section about taking care of your trees, everybody walks around the house, and if you're a homeowner, everything grows, right? Oh, this is starting here and that's starting here, and sometimes, especially like today where it's 120-degree heat index, you're like, oh no, I'll just wait to fix that. But before a hurricane season, if you have known damage to your fence, to your house, you got to go ahead and make those repairs, don't you?
Absolutely.
Because if you have a fence that is all catty-wonky and the wind picks that up because it's in disrepair and throws it into your house, the insurance company is going to have something to say about that, aren't they?
Yes and no. Having a fence that's a little catty-wonky, as you might say, if the wind lifts that fence up and throws it into your house, you have a claim. Is the insurance going to come back and balk at you a little bit about if the condition was better? Sure. I had this roof that had been repaired, and a huge oak tree fell through the roof and put 9-foot holes in it.
Wow.
Because the roof wasn't new, the claim was denied. What does that mean?
But a tree fell on it.
Yes.
Big tree fell on it.
And there's a video of it.
And there's holes in the roofs.
Correct.
And hold on, there's a video of the tree falling on the roof.
Correct. And a video of the tree in the roof. And there's a video of the guys cutting the tree off the roof. But because it was an older roof, the insurance company said, there's no life in this roof. We don't owe you any money.
Well, not for the tree, there's nothing in it.
No, yes. But also, let's say that there's some damage on the roof. They know they have some little bit of existing damage on the roof. The soffit, maybe the soffits have fallen down or are getting rotted, and they keep on putting that off and putting that off. That could be a reason, if they do have roof damage, especially in that area, for the insurance company to say, I know we had a big storm, I know we had a hurricane, but if you had fixed your soffits and fixed the roof and fixed this portion that was damaged, there wouldn't have been much damage, so we're not really going to pay for it. We're not going to pay for all of it. Is that something that happens in these claims?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you got to be, as a homeowner, you got to be diligent about doing things around the home and keeping it up. You have an insurance policy that's insuring the home for like, kind, and quality, the condition that it was in. The insurance company's going to hold you to that standard. Does that mean that, hey, you had a little soffit and it was a little bit down and a tree fell on your house? I'm going to include that as your claim. That was a good soffit, because whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, as long as it existed, it was getting damaged.
Right. You know, the trees, the 9-foot hole and all that kind of stuff. Want to really talk about, you always see these people right before hurricanes coming, and not to speak ill of anybody out there. I'm not, because I think we've all done it, is the hurricanes, we've lived in Florida our whole life, the hurricanes finally come and you're like, oh, I need plywood. So
I'm not guilty of that, but I am.
I was that way until Charlie was coming, and I was lucky enough that we got a bunch of plywood, and my dad and I and my brother-in-law sat there for 2 days before Charlie came, and we cut all the wood to fit all the doors of all of our houses. So now we have that stacked up in the thing, because hurricane windows are great, and if people can get them, but at that point it was a lot. What other tips do you have with making sure that you have the wood pre-cut or things like that? What are some other things that you see that when you go to see a home after a hurricane, if they would have done this, the damage would have been less?
I see a lot of homes with the pre-existing hurricane shutters, but nobody seems to oil them or make sure they have the right screws and nuts and bolts and things for them, and or they waited too long, or they just don't operate right. So I'll go to a house and you got these 3 down, but you didn't get the other 2 down. Well, the hurricane was coming and we couldn't operate what was already on the home. Just maybe hitting it with some WD-40, making sure they work on a cooler day than what it is today would be pretty helpful also.
Kind of starting up your generator if you have a generator, starting it up, making sure it's good.
Yeah, as you're preparing for everything, you don't want to start your generator when the electricity goes off. You want to start it up and make sure it's running while everything's still good.
We've talked about some of the stuff you should do. Let's say that the storm rolls through. Like Ian, that was supposed to hit up here in Pinellas County, they did, and it tragically hit our Floridians to the south, and it was horrible. They're still recouping from that. What do you suggest? The storm rolls through, the county says green light, you can go outside. What should be the steps that you take at that point?
The first thing is I would definitely put on good footwear, because you don't know what's outside, and I would definitely
that's a great point.
Do that during the day, because there's some wildlife that we have in Florida, snakes, alligators, that could be potentially in your yard and in your space. You definitely don't know what you're going to be stepping on, whether it's things that you think came from your house or from the neighbors or from. You should have your phone with you and just start photo documenting things. There's going to be, maybe there's nothing really significantly wrong, like you don't have a tree that's perilously on your roof. What's going to happen is people are going to come by and request to do work on your behalf to get those things off anyway, so hopefully there's going to be some help coming for that. At that point too, if it's daylight, maybe taking a shutter or 2 off so you have some light on the inside of your house, because if the power's out and you've got those shutters on the windows, it gets very dark in the house, or stays very dark in the house. So there's some comfortability factors also that'll help you be straight-minded about, all right, this is damage, you've taken some photos of that, maybe even want to jot some things down. Did you have any interior damage? What rooms were they? You want to take photos of that. Did you have any personal property damage? You want to start writing those things down. Say they're all wet, like your mattresses. You don't want to leave them in your house because they're going to have mold growth, and then that's going to get into your airspace. Sure, you're going to have to drag those out front. You definitely take a picture of those too.
But isn't the insurance company going to take pictures of everything anyways?
Everything that's still there.
Okay.
But if you know that it's a complete loss, as long as you photo document these things, if you've got a storage place that you can set them, then great. If you don't, at least remove them from the home, these damaged items.
But to Warren's point, should they rely on the insurance company to come out and their adjusters to take pictures of everything and document all the problems that are happening? Because I don't know. I've lived in my house for 20 years. I think I know my house better than somebody that's going to walk in for the first time. Should I rely on the insurance company or should I do it myself?
I would do it myself. I wouldn't rely on an insurance company at all. I might have about 300 Ian claims, and I'll tell you, 20 or 30 of them. I've got one right now. The insurance company still hasn't even inspected it. How many months are we? September. It's going to be September next month.
Yeah.
So
11 months, and we still haven't gotten an inspection yet, which is
It
crazy.
seems like a long time because it's now almost a full year past the damage. How are those people even living?
So these people are very upset. The insurance company. Okay, let me say it this way. They did come out and do an inspection, and the insurance company went under, and they went to FIGA. They've been to 4 FIGA workshops and have spoken to people about not having their real inspection because none of the paperwork that ever was done was turned in.
Wow.
Oh, and they didn't take their own photos, did they?
That's correct.
No, that's a shame.
And
It's
that
a hard case.
And there's several, also there's other things where you have a field adjuster that's coming in from out of state. Then you have a desk adjuster that's working at an IA firm. They don't see eye to eye on things. One person tells you to do one thing, the other person shows up, tells you not to do the other thing. Without proper documentation, the desk adjuster told you to throw everything away. Field adjuster comes out and says, "Where's your stuff?" That person told me to throw it away. And then you get a denial letter. You did exactly what they told you to do because you couldn't prove that you had it. That's where those photos and videos are very important.
Another thing I'm thinking about, you just said coming from out of state. Because I know of a situation, somebody that was close to my family that lived on the water. Now, I've lived on the water growing up in Pinellas County, on or around the water my whole life. And this family friend was discussing damage to their boat and their dock and some other stuff right on the water. And the adjuster that came out walked down, and the first thing he said was, "Wow, I've never seen a canal before." Because he was from the middle of America and he had never seen it.
Yeah.
What's the problem with adjusters that fly in from these events not knowing Florida, trying to assess these Florida claims?
Number one, they don't know what goes into, they don't know what they're looking at because they've never seen it before.
Right. They physically never seen a canal before.
And then if it's damaged, do they know how to rebuild it since they've never seen it before? Then if it's damaged too, especially something like a dock when it's to do with a tree or just a simple roof, there are so many building code issues that go on that they might decide to write an estimate for it, but at the same time they don't capture what has to be done to put you back.
That's why, as soon as you see damage, calling somebody like you, a PA that's going to come out, that's going to know Florida, that's going to have adjusted claims, that knows when you go out there and let's say that the boat lift was damaged by all this stuff or the tree fell here, you guys have that intimate knowledge of Florida and what it means to be a Floridian, live as a Floridian, and everything that goes into that. But also, there's a lot of underlying perils, like you're talking about. Where else do people walk outside and they see alligators in their pool, right? We're a special breed down here sometimes. Getting you involved, can you and George at ADR involved, that can really help our clients, can it?
Absolutely. We have many instances where we do just consultation for, hey, we don't think that something, the homeowner comes over and says, we don't think something's right. We go over their estimate and we break it down and tell them these are the things that were missed. This is why a roofer or contractor will never work from this estimate. And the out-of-state adjuster, they're very good in their state and their municipality, but they just don't have any idea of what we go through here, the rules and our contractors and things like that.
Because there's a lot of rules that other people don't have because other people don't have hurricane. Talk about some of the rules that we have here regarding doors and roofing and windows because of our hurricanes that they don't have, let's say, in Iowa or someplace like that.
So there's some differences. So Iowa, they use a lot of ice and water shield in their valleys because they have ice damming. Mm-hmm. We don't snow, we don't have ice damming, but we have wind. So we have hurricane clips. We have to re-nail our sheathing, and then we have what they call a secondary water barrier. Instead of one course of felt, we have 2 courses of felt, which is what waterproofs the inside of the home. Also with our doors, we use the Miami-Dade standard, which is south of here. Hurricanes hit there a little more prevalent than they hit here, but they put these standards in place that said their door swings a certain way. On an older house, it might not have been upgraded. The door swing might not be wrong. The guy from Iowa is not going to understand the door swing not going to understand the ordinance and law. And the policy.
So the doors, houses that were built after a certain point that have the Miami-Dade standard, which way do the doors open? Into the house or outside the house?
Before the Miami-Dade standard, they open inside to the house, right? Now they're supposed to open outside. So any door that you walk in, I would say 75% of my clients' homes do not have an upgraded door. Have been through 3 hurricanes and nobody has really caught what should have been done with that opening. These are something that we can bring to the table, something, especially if the door was damaged. There's also...
Because then it's can't be hung, if the door was damaged, people have these beautiful ornate front doors down here, and let's say something hits during a storm and cracks, that door needs to be replaced. The insurance company has to hang it by code, which means that they have to rebuild that door frame and jam so it swings out, not in.
That's correct.
Wow, okay.
And there's an extra coverage for that, right? That's the ordinance and law coverage that helps bring your house up to code if you have to?
That's correct. So there's ordinance and law coverage A. It's usually 25% of what your coverage is. Also then, you have to go one step further. How big is that front door? What does it comprise of the percentage of your openings? Maybe you have a door and 2 windows. Well, if that becomes more than 25% of your openings, that ordinance and law now upgrades all of your windows and doors or exterior openings.
And sometimes you want to get a little more ordinance and law than just the standard, what the policy offers, right? You want to kind of figure out what your house is, maybe work with an insurance agent to figure out, make sure you've got enough. I'm thinking of a house that gets leveled and they come back and say, you got to build it on stilts this time.
Okay.
Because that's an upgrade, right, for code changes?
Could be. If you got to build it on stilts, you probably had flood insurance and you probably had a flooding event.
Yep.
You would want to know that you could go to FEMA, and as part of your flood insurance, they have a code that allows for raising the home.
Okay.
And from that, putting it on stilts, if the house was gone, and you had the photos of the house, we had the video with a floor plan, we can come back and recreate what the house was. We would know exactly then. Hey, you had a picture of your panel during a floor plan inspection. It was 150 amp, maybe you needed a 200. Mm-hmm. Now we know your windows and door openings. We know where your plumbing was. All of these things that wrap into ordinance and law, we can put that together for you.
Now, I have a question, because I'm sitting here saying, okay, before I started doing property insurance work at Herman Wells, I really just relied on my insurance agent about what coverage I need for my house and things like that. Now I know that I need a little bit more, okay, because I've been practicing in this area. Somebody watching that loves their insurance agent, I'm not saying anything bad about insurance agents, but insurance agents don't argue with insurance companies down the road. They haven't been adjusters. They don't look at policies like you've looked at policies. Right. Is there a way that people out there, if they're shopping for insurance and wondering what to do, can they reach out to you guys with some questions? Is there a resource that they can go to make sure that they have the right policy? Because just like we tell people to get a second opinion when you get a diagnosis, or even when people come to us sometimes and say, listen, I know you can go get a second opinion. Where do they go to get a second opinion from somebody that's just not another insurance adjuster that kind of has some knowledge?
They can always come to us and ask us. One, not all agents are bad, not all adjusters are good or bad. The agents are salespeople. They're going to sell the policy of the week. Mm-hmm. And that's just what it is. Maybe you get lucky and you get a great policy. A lot of people that put claims in Florida, the next thing that happens after you put the claim in, whether they pay it or not, is you got to go look for another policy. Right. There's a whole ball of wax that goes in there. So our current clients always call us and say, can you review this deck page for us, which gives us your coverages, A, B, C, and D, the ordinance and law. If there's any restrictions, like if you would have a water loss, you might only have $10,000. There's certain insurance companies that say you're going to only use our contractor. So you lose control of even having your home rebuilt. So yeah, they can always contact us. Your agent is probably always going to give you different things to look at. And unless you really know what you're looking at, the agent's never put in a claim. They're not calling the insurance carrier on your behalf because of the claim, because they really don't have any idea. And
a lot of times they're writing these policies sight unseen. I love my insurance agent. I've had he's a good friend of mine, so I'm not. But the only reason he knows what my house looks like is because he's been over for an event because our kids are friends. But there's a lot of insurance agents that never even step foot into the house. Mm-hmm. So they may be doing what they think is right, but you may look at that and see that front door and go, hold on, you have a double front door plus 2 decorative side glasses, and those big front doors open in. Okay, you may need to up this or that on your policy.
We'll be able to look at those things. We come out, we have a 360-degree camera that you might have seen in a lot of what the realtors use. And we do a walkthrough of your home that captures everything.
Wow.
We even get underneath your cabinets where your water is. We look at these things. Besides helping you to get the insurance policy that you need, now I have a bookend of your home, so when something does go wrong, you can call me back, and I've got all this information. When you
That's
use
awesome.
us, if something has happened, we can say, this wasn't like how it was. And we do that with a lot of clients that'll ask, and we do it for free. We come into your home, we do the inspection, we get it done, take outside photos, we archive it. If you don't have an issue, great. If you ever have an issue, there's a certain point in time that we've got things. We also do, and we do this not so much, but save guns, jewelry, things like that. A lot of, the homeowner's policy doesn't cover, not even an inkling of that. And so what we do is number one, we catalog it. So if anything was to happen to these items. And number two, we give you direction on finding someone that just insures those items too.
Yeah, that's important.
And you're talking about those internal caps and limits. So my insurance policy covers my house for say $300,000,
Right.
but I only have $500 worth of jewelry coverage, and it's not $500 per item. It's $500 total or $1,000 total,
That's right.
and that's less than my wife's engagement ring or most people's
Right.
normal jewelry. So those are the caps you want to look at in those policy to find out what your other limits are. Then, right?
Exactly.
Because your insurance agent, when you asked for jewelry coverage, he gave you 4 different policies, and you picked the least expensive one, and it's still had jewelry coverage, but it may have been $500 instead of $10,000.
Correct. Let's face it, we've all done it before. We're buying a house and your hair's on fire and there's a lot of things going on. You contact an agent and say, just give me a policy so I can close escrow on the house.
Yep.
You weren't concerned about it right then. I'll come back and revisit it. Or maybe you didn't even think about coming back and revisiting. Then something happens. Most people don't find out how good or bad their policy is until something happens.
We're finishing up a little bit here, and you've told us all the times that they should get a public adjuster like you or George involved. You see a spot, give us a call. If you do have that leak at 3 o'clock in the morning and everything's there, take your picture, but the next day you may want to reach out to us so we can come do the water mitigation testing and all that kind of stuff. I get all that. But here's my question. You've been in claims a long time. You've been doing this public adjusting now for a couple of years. Now, I've known that you've probably seen some catastrophic, horrific losses, and those are heartbreaking. And they're heartbreaking for you, they're heartbreaking for us. But you've also had the claims where, have you seen the video of the bear destroying the inside of the car, or the alligator that somehow gets into the kitchen and starts tearing apart that? Tell us your funniest, most unusual claim where you saw the facts and you went there and you're like, that got into there? How did that happen?
There is it's not just one, there's several, and it usually happens up north. And it's where squirrels, possums, and what do you call those? Black and white furry guys. Raccoons. Where they'll get in and nest in the attic space. And they're not going to the bathroom in a normal spot. And you see the spots and things. And in the middle of the night, a whole family of these possums fell through the ceiling onto the couple's bed.
Wow.
Oh, and they were scratched up. And it looked like a bloody mess because they were scratched, so there's some stains there, and the animals were scratching, trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they made it out, closed the room off. Nobody got out there for 2 or 3 days, so now they were in their master bedroom using that as their own private hotel. Fun things like that. But really, the most mesmerizing thing I ever saw was a hailstone go through a roof, through the drywall of the ceiling, and break a cocktail table.
No, okay, say that again.
It was a hailstone.
What, Florida?
This was in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Now a little more believable now.
Right.
Sorry.
Those Oklahoma hailstones are bred differently.
Another great one was that there was a twister, and these people had beautiful oak trees around the home, and every one of the oak trees entwined. And for 3 days, the guys cutting the trees were sitting there scratching their head. I didn't understand why you just cut these trees down. And it was all about these trees twisting back and killing them. When they cut the base, the tops were twisted apart, and that could kick back, and either kick back on them or kick back through the house. So it was super strategic it's just a tree cut.
So it literally almost wrapped them up like you do when you were a kid, and you would twist up something and let it go, and
it'd spin, and those trees under their pressure, that sort of thing.
I've never heard of trees
Wrapping
around each other
in a storm.
And I think every year, I've seen this, I know this. I learn something new probably every week.
So the natural progression is they see something,
Mm-hmm.
they call you guys. You are working diligently with the insurance company,
Mm-hmm.
working as an advocate for the homeowner to try to, I don't want to say make the insurance company do the right thing, point out where they may be wrong, and then if the insurance company is wrong, tell them why they're wrong to have them do the right thing. At some point, you've exhausted all the tools in your toolbox, and the insurance company is still saying, no, I don't care if there's a 9-foot hole, we're not paying for it. That's when you get people like us involved, correct?
So after we exhaust everything that we can do, even the alternative dispute resolution of mediation or appraisal, when it's apparent there is something so wrong, and we've already made complaints to the state, these things are documented, we'll say they've done 10 things wrong, they come back and just say, no, we haven't. I mean, it's just as blatant as that. We start talking to the insured about the course of their claim before we even start. We want to make sure that we're doing everything that they want us to do, but at the end of the day, if we've got to get them into the hands of you guys, that's what we're going to do. So there's always a reason why we should or why we shouldn't do things. Should we have a claim? Should we not have a claim? Should we go to attorney? Should we not go to an attorney? And you guys being the attorneys, I'm sure you'd like to see these clients and help them out and that sort of thing. There are some times too where I say that there's just no way you can at this point. But throughout the claims process, we know, and then my firm is calling your firm to talk about instances, and you guys are helping us before we even get interacting with that insured into your hands.
And I know from the cases I've handled, and Warren, you've been doing this for 7 years, is that when we get claims from public adjusters like you, it doesn't make our life easier in terms of the insurance company, still the insurance company, mm-hmm. but it makes our life easier in dealing with our client and their expectations, because we're not looking at the client a year later and saying, okay, did you take pictures? No. But you've already repaired the wall? Yes. But you didn't take pictures? No. Okay, with you guys, we have pictures, we have estimates, we have moisture reports, we have everything that we need, to the point that when they say that wasn't the condition at the time, we go, look at this 360-degree, look at this drone video over the house. This is what it is. So I want to ask Warren, you've been doing this for a long time. How helpful is that when litigating these cases to have that information from the public adjuster?
So one of the big things that people don't really understand is that insurance adjuster that's sent out by the insurance company and takes all those pictures. We don't get them. So by the time it comes to us as a lawyer, we have to fight for those photographs. And a lot of times we don't get them until we've been in litigation for months and months. And so having a video of your house before a loss is great, but having a public adjuster's photos in a file that document exactly what the insurance company should have seen is huge, because we can actually look at, this is what the condition of the property was, and this is what we know. And when we get their photos, we can now all start poking holes in it, that not only is your stuff, we finally got it, we can see it, but you're missing things. 2 people with the same license took different photos. One of them showing damage that's probably covered by your policy, and one of them not. Having those documentation there showing that the adjuster missed something or just right in time for that loss is incredibly helpful for us. One, because we don't get those photos till later on, but it just gives us that comparison picture. And we're getting those single shots. So if we're taking pictures of the roof, we're getting those overview shots from the insurance company. We're also getting them from a public adjuster like yourself. And you're showing us these shingles on the roofs that are delaminated, that are bent in corners, that are torn. And when the adjusters for the insurance company's pictures don't show that, that's it. We've got the evidence that they didn't do a good job. And it's incredibly helpful and incredibly powerful for a judge or a jury to see that documentation that they didn't do.
And just for those watching at home, when the insurance company takes the picture, they may send up a drone and take a picture of it or use some other method, but it's really, no pun intended, it's really a 30,000 foot view. It's just a view of the house and you can see the shingles. When ADR or public adjuster goes up there, they're taking pictures of the damaged area, and not only that, is that a lot of times it's circled. Here's the problem, here's the problem. They show the roof, here's the problem. They may have gotten an engineer to go out there. The engineer now is doing the report and saying, here's the problem on these pictures. But where the insurance company is showing this picture that's like this, and they're getting right up to the individual little square by square of your roof and going, here's where the hail hit, here's where the hail hit, and things like that. And that is tremendously illustrative to a mediator, to a jury, to even an adjuster that may not have been the adjuster handling the claims, but is now the litigation adjuster that goes, oh, we didn't see these in our file, but you have sent them in 6 times and they just magically didn't see them.
And that's a good point. The field adjuster who goes out and takes a picture of your house, he's often not the person that makes a claim determination. He sends his report to somebody else who looks at those pictures and goes, from what I can see, you don't have coverage. But again, you're getting a second set of photos that are giving a more complete picture of what's going on. And sometimes that can be the difference that swings your case from no coverage to partial or full coverage.
And what I find is that, and Josh can speak to this, with insurance companies and adjusters, we got to realize, yes, it is a big monolith up there that we all think about. There's people like George and Josh that are real people that are making the claim. And they're not horrible people, and they're not out to ruin your life. You can't take personal pride and all that stuff away. So if they're arguing about a claim and they think that they're right, sometimes we're human. That kind of clouds your judgment. But then they're not listening to you, and we file litigation. That moves to a different section a lot of times, and there's a litigation adjuster who's never made a claim. She's not married to the case. She hasn't been arguing with you or arguing with the homeowner. She hasn't been called horrible names by the homeowner that is all mad because it's been a year, or had conversation with you. So when she looks at it, and now she sees the information that Warren has, and the information you and the engineer, she doesn't have any emotional bias. She may go, oh yeah, we probably should have paid that.
And it's something that we tell every one of our clients when we talk to them about going to you guys or going to an attorney. Is that what it does is it elevates the claim into somebody else's hands, and it puts a set of fresh eyes on everything. And that's really important, because maybe we've been working on your claim for 5 months and it's been contentious and we beat them or they beat us before, and it becomes this, I don't want to say game, because this is your insurance, this is your home, this is your thing. And one of the best things is to elevate it into somebody else's hands.
And a couple of things that I'm going to point out right now, and I want you to help me with this, is homeowner claims are very emotional because it's your home, it's your castle, it's where you keep your loved ones safe, your pets safe, your family safe. And a lot of times I find that my clients' emotions run a little high. I want you to speak to the point of when you have a client that is actually the difference between a client that's actually respectful to their adjuster, even though they disagree with them, and then the adjuster that's calling and screaming and yelling, I'm going to go to your supervisor, and nasty grams and all that. Which way is probably the best course of action to help get your claim resolved?
Well, if you're screaming or nasty to your adjuster, you can just imagine you're going to go to the back of the line. You're going to be the last one that's called. That's the last file. The person that is handling it respectfully, getting it done, here are the facts, are the ones at the first of the line. And that adjuster, hey, they run a big business. They got to close claims. Their manager says, you've got to close 3 claims today. They're going to look and they're going to see how Josh with ADR is on the file. Reasonable guy, let me call him, let's get this one closed. they're going to see the one that they got log notice that they got yelled at before, that they're going to skip past that one. As the business of closing 3 claims, getting yelled at isn't closing a claim, it's just getting yelled at. But at the same time, as a homeowner, you know what's right, and you get frustrated, and it's taking 6 phone calls, and that's time out of your life.
Right.
That's what my company takes off your plate. You hand it to us, we take care of it, you go on with your life, and you put it out of your mind, because nobody needs that stress.
That is a huge relief, because not only are they dealing with not having a home or having tarps on their house or a kitchen they can't use, a bathroom they can't use, a bedroom with a family of possums that have now moved in and changed the Netflix password, all that stuff. And then everybody works for a living. That adjuster is there from 8 to 5 because it's their job. You're at your job from 8 to 5, and they only expect you to call during, and you can't find the time to call, and then they're not calling you back, or they call you back and you're in a meeting. For you, this is your job. So when they call, you're ready. You can call them at the time. You can set a time to say, you can't talk now, let's talk tomorrow at 3. And you take that stress off. That's
There's nothing like calling somebody or emailing them and just not getting a response, and especially through hurricanes and cat storms, because these adjusters have moved on, they've gone away. Finding the right person. With us, we have a same-day response. Even if it's you call us, I can't talk to you right now, I'm going to call you later. At least we're going to get some kind of response from us. Usually we answer our emails daily. You know where we are in the file at all times.
That's awesome.
The other point that we tell our clients is whenever you call us for an update and I can't give you one, it's because I'm waiting on your insurance carrier. Trust me, you're never going to be waiting on us.
And talking about that, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
You can email me directly. It's as easy as that. J Keller, Keller, or adjusters with a S.com. Or you can call me on my cell phone or text me. 900-9017.
So they can just text your cell phone.
Correct. Just that easy.
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't have any people to go through. Direct access.
So before you sat down with us, why did you make us go with your booker and your agent?
You had to sign those forms.
Yeah, I had to sign the NDA. I don't know why I signed a non-disclosure agreement to talk to you. We're going to wrap up. Anything that we didn't cover today that you wanted to cover?
No, I think we covered everything. That last part about stress-free claim, talking insurance talk, having an advocate on your side, that's what we're all about, helping out the client.
Awesome. Warren, any last thoughts?
One of the best things that a public adjuster can do for you is really take the responsibility off of you, like you're talking about. That is a huge relief from somebody's life. I mean, having gone through a claim myself, that took up a lot of my time. Not just my time from calling people, but filling my wife in, having her being upset that things weren't moving smoothly, and giving it to somebody else so you can actually deal with your life while everything's going on in the background is a huge benefit. And I definitely recommend that if you're struggling or you just don't know what to do next, call a public adjuster. Call Josh. Let him help you.
Thanks.
Well, guys, it was a pleasure. Again, I'm Bill Demas from Herman Wells, and this is Warren Duffy and Josh Keller from ADR. This is going to be a weekly format. We're going to put things out. We're going to talk with people like Josh. That's really informative. And then we're going to mix in some other stuff that's less law and more just fun stuff. Like today, we spoke very little law, but it was all useful things that I think everybody needs to know when going into their hurricane season and dealing with little things, because it's a lot of with these claims, as Josh says, it's about early recognition and getting there quickly with photos and somebody like Josh that makes the claim go easier down the road. And that's what we wanted to do today, is give you guys that information. If you need any information from us here at Herman & Wells, our number is 727-821-3195. Thanks, guys. It's been great. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.